Hey, welcome to Rust Revival Garage. My name is Tim. I am back on my 1968 Pontiac LeMans. The reason why is because this car is slow. So let's go ahead and take a look. This is me taking off at a stoplight. Alright, I lied. It's not slow anymore. Huh. Maybe that exhaust really did help. But what I do want to do is dive into the carb, make sure I've got good vacuum, make sure I've got good timing. I want to take a look at everything in there to make sure it's running as smooth as possible. I did the power tour in this car and everything was smooth and ran well, but I also had an issue right before I left with my fuel pump, which means that I dropped the float bowl level. I was thinking it was the carburetor, so I was dropping that level like crazy, and I just want to go through things and check to make sure that she's running well. All right, I'm going to try it again. I really think that exhaust helped a lot. I still think there might be some more in there, hopefully. I just got to check things out. I have not looked at this, the timing and the vacuum and the carb and everything else like that since way before the power tour. So let's check it out. One of the things I need to do first is get rid of this plastic fuel filter. I had it on there because, you know, just trying to make sure we could see the flow, but I think this one has actually started to leak. If you look down in there, I just kind of cleaned this up, but it's been pooling a little bit. And it was down here too. So yeah, I definitely want to get, it'd be nice if my light worked, but I definitely want to replace that. I do have one of the metal ones. Certainly much better than having plastic under the hood. Gonna make a mess. So much room for my hands. Oh, there's so much fuel in there. All right. Okay, I got most of the fuel drained out of it. See if I can get it off without making too much of a mess. Oh, got that. All right. So that says in, that one is out. I'll go ahead and get that hooked back up and clean up this fuel mess. Okay, so the new fuel filter is in, and I made sure I checked all of the hose clamps, got those nice and tightened down. Should be good. If we see a leak, then there is a problem somewhere else. First thing I want to check is to make sure that the, I forget what it's called, the little idle holes that are at the base of the carburetor. I want to make sure that that's not too far open. I don't think that is too open or too wide because it doesn't stumble or diesel on after I turn the car off, but I just want to make sure. Usually I can check with a gauge. I did it when I was working on the truck trying to dial in the problems that I had there. Turned out that the truck had a vacuum leak in the intake. So I want to check on this to say, okay, is there anything going on with the idle holes. Got it hooked up here, and looks like it's pulling a little bit. right, time to check the timing, see how it looks. Again, this car runs really, really well. I'm pretty happy with it. I just wanted to sort of check things, make sure it's all running correctly, make sure it's as optimized as it can be. So I'm going to take a look at the timing. All right, so the timing is dead on. It's pretty much right around where I want it to be. It's right around 9 degrees advanced. I know I didn't check it going at 3,000 RPM, but I just kind of wanted to first get a look to see and make sure that at idle it's still pretty good. And the car is warmed up, so that is definitely where it's running. I'm pretty happy with that. I do need to check it at, like I said, about 3,000 RPM. All right, gonna cap this off and then hook my gauge up down here. There we go. And we can take a look at our vacuum. The other good news is I'm not seeing any kind of leaks, so that's good. Looks like that filter is doing well. There, the vacuum is definitely a little bit low. It's still in the green range, which is good. Turning it down quarter turn at a time. That's too much. So I'm going to go back out a half again. That's about quarter in. It's not really doing much difference. Quarter, half. I'm going to open it up a little more. Quarter, half. It doesn't like that. One of the other things I want to check is the fuel level in the bowl. All right, I think I'm okay on the fuel level. I know that there's other adjustments you want to do while it's running, but I'm pretty sure this is okay. Because again, this is running fine. My concern was that I had lowered it too much. Before the power tour, I had a fuel pump that was just pumping massively. It was a mechanical pump sending way too much up there. I thought the carb was the issue, so there was a couple of videos before the power tour where I was testing the float bowl and it was just pouring out of it. And so I'd lowered it. And my concern was that I had lowered it too much when in fact it was the fault of that fuel pump. So because I was able to rock it, I can see that it's, just a little bit trickling out. And I think the float bowl level is good. So again, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. The other thing I want to check is the spark plugs. I'm not going to check them all. I'm going to do a couple at random, take a look, see how they look. Because again, this thing was running rich because of that fuel pump issue, and I could have fouled the plugs out. But again, this thing is running well, and before I did the exhaust, it was not fast. I would push down on the accelerator, and it was kind of sluggish. That's kind of what made me want to check this out. But again, I want to check the plugs just to see. I'll maybe check 3 of them and see how they are. All right, so nothing was really wrong with LeMans. My C10 pickup truck, however, that's a totally different ballgame. I do know this has issues. I recently had to replace the intake manifold gaskets. I'd already done it previously, but I had a leak. There was oil leaking out, and I drove it around and got it all set back up, but it's still dieseling on me. So I'm actually driving it around right now to warm it up. I need to pretty much do the exact same thing on the C10, but I do know for a fact that when I drive this thing around for a while, I probably won't get it to do it here, but if I drive it for like 20 minutes or so when I stop, it starts dieseling, which means that the slot that's in there on the carb is open up way too far, and fuel is leaking down in there after I shut it off. So I really just had a chance to, throw the distributor back in, get the timing sort of set right, but I definitely need to look at the truck. So I'm going to warm that up now and see what we can find out there. Okay, the first thing I want to do is, again, put the vacuum gauge on the carb, see if I can see if there's any fluctuation in the gauge when it's on the manifold vacuum while it's running. That can kind of tell me if the slot is open too far or not. Definitely need to get some more timing in there. I don't know if you can make it out, but it's pretty low. All right, so I've turned it a little bit. I'm gonna start it up and see if that improved things. What is that noise? advancing it too much. There we go. Yep, that's more advanced. Alright. Now that's where it should be. See if we can mess with the air fuel issue. 1/2, 1.5, 2. There we go. I think I got the timing where I want it. I'm just not getting good vacuum readings on this. No matter what I do, I can't get it down into the green. I may have a leak somewhere that I don't know about, but it's definitely running much better. And I'm kind of curious to see if it diesels when I turn it off. All right, it did not diesel. So yeah, I've definitely got it running a little better. Gonna lock down the distributor. But yeah, I kind of don't know what to do with this. I'm wondering if I don't have a leak again somewhere. So I did a video about a year ago where I could not find the problem with this truck. I could not get the vacuum reading correct. I know it's got a fairly big cam in it. It's a blueprint engine, and I couldn't find the leak. Discovered it was the intake manifold, so I replaced the gasket. Turns out I had an oil leak, and I haven't really had a chance to check the measurements again. When I had the oil leak, I could get the vacuum close to green, and I'm wondering if I don't have some air getting out somewhere. But I at least did fix the problem of this thing running on, or dieseling as they call it, where every time I would turn it off, it would just continue to try to go. And you can see I did adjust the idle so that it's down a little bit again. And so, yeah, at least I've solved that problem. I just need to dig in and find out where I'm getting this leak from. The PVC popped off. Obviously, that was causing a massive leak and noise. I'm not sure if that got picked up on the camera or not. All right, so next day, came out, started right out, ran great. It was idling way too low. I did think I had the idle adjusted a little bit too far down. Brought it back up, checked it on the gauge, everything was fine. Got it running fairly smooth now. I'm about a turn and a half out on each side. I think I've got it going good. So I think she's good to go. I've driven it around for a while too, and I want to stop and make sure it doesn't diesel. There we go. Didn't run on. No dieseling. So everything is pretty good. Like I said, I'm just not crazy about these vacuum numbers. I've checked all around. I've looked for leaks, PCV. I checked to make sure the brake line was hooked up. I did notice that the carb has a little bit of a fuel leak around the edges. I did tighten it up a little bit. I didn't like crank on it, but I did tighten it up a little bit because there is some fuel getting out along this bowl. But I can't really see anything else where there might be a leak. Now, if it turns out that I need to do this intake again, I'm not doing it. It's been done twice, and there's a good chance I have an intake leak. I'm gonna run it for a while, see how it does, and hope for the best, fingers crossed. I'll check the plugs again at some point soon here to make sure I'm not running too lean. There's too much air going in. But I was surprised that it ran better with it at a turn and a half on both sides versus usually 2, maybe a little bit more than that. But I could never get it to go down into the green, but it is running fairly smooth. and right now I can live with it. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. If you can, give me a like if you got anything out of it. Please leave me some comments down below. Let me know if you have suggestions, at least on the truck. Car's running great. I'm happy there. Didn't really have to do too much there. I did check the spark plugs and they all looked fine. So I don't think that's, that's not an issue. I think it was just slow. Maybe that muffler was clogged on it. I don't know. I didn't really inspect it too close, but it had been in there since the 80s. So the car's running great. I'm just going to have to keep working with the truck here to see how, make sure everything improves. So leave me comments down below. Subscribe to the channel if you can. I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will catch you next time.